welcome back to my channel. Again, we're just going to break down some vision here. We're going to talk some footy. We're going to break down some vision. What you guys should be doing right now is just hitting that subscribe button and letting me know what things you want me to speak about. But let's just get straight into it. So before we just absolutely just glaze Hawthorn for the next 5, 6, 7, 8 minutes, let's have a look at what Carlton does, and then we can look at what the difference is between them and Hawthorn. And essentially, we're going to be looking at the difference between a bad team and a good team. So we're about 10 minutes into the first quarter. Nick Haynes is going to get this football. Now look at just the complete lack of movement here from the Carlton players. Harry Mackay just put his hand up like this, just saying, kick it on my head. That doesn't work anymore. Now, Carlton do a good job here to switch the football. The issue is they don't have the leg skill. They don't have the running power here to kick through this zone like a Hawthorn would. Now, Blake Acres here does a really good job to take this contested mark, but look at where he looks, straight into the middle of the ground. And the Carlton players, they're so slow to switch through the middle of the ground, to switch from one side to the other, that they physically can't get enough speed on the ball, so that when Lockie Cowan gets his football, there is still zero movement. And all we've done here is we've shifted the ball from the left side of the ground to the right side of the ground in the exact same situation, kicking to the exact same scenario, Harry Mackay with his hand up down the line. So even when Carlton were able to switch the football, they didn't have the skill to bite off these 20-metre kicks through the zone, through the Hawthorn defensive press. The biggest issue with Carlton is they don't put it all together. So even if someone does lead, then either they don't have the skill to take off the kick, or they just completely ignore the option. So look at this right here. So we're a couple minutes into the second quarter, and how many times from this position do we see a kick into the forward 50, just a long bomb? The issue is, when you're kicking from 80 metres out, the furthest you can get that in is 30, maybe 40 metres from goal right here. So all you're doing is essentially kicking to exactly where the Hawthorn spares are. So Impey here and me. Those are your spares right now. You cannot kick the ball to them. And if you just kick it long, like we see Carlton do so often, that's the only place you're going to be able to kick it to. So look at the work that Williams does here. Look at the space right here. This is where a good team kicks the football. This is where a good ball movement team kicks the football. Because if you can get a mark around here, now suddenly you're able to shift the angles. Suddenly your forwards have all of this space to work with, and not just this clump of clump of players inside your forward 50. So how many times do we see Hawthorn bite off this kick, or a Collingwood, or a Brisbane? Instead, Zach Williams, you've got to hit that kick. You have to hit that kick. It gives you so many options, because as soon as you just kick to that 40 metres out, you're kicking straight to the Hawthorn spares. And I wish we could go through just every issue that Carlton has. Another issue that Carlton has is they don't trust their defence. It means that all of your players just flood the defensive 50. So right now, Charlie Curnow and Harry Mackay, they're your full forwards, and look at where they are. They're at your centre-half back line, and as soon as these players are here, it means that even if you turn the football over right now, you're going to have to slow down, and that's going to just annihilate your ability to move the ball with any speed, with any pace, and with any danger. So it's bad setup, but it's also bad skill and bad decision making. And when you put those three together, you're not going to win any games. Carlton get the football out of this defensive 50, and bang, Harry Mackay's got the football. You just got the turnover. This is where realistically all of the good teams should have players streaming ahead of the football. This is where you should be able to catch your opposition out. The issue is Carlton have flooded their players back. So now all of their players here are saying, we've got to get forward. We've got to do this 150-metre repeat run just straight through the middle of the ground to create an option. Harry Mackay is relatively a good kick. The issue is a good team hits Sam Doherty right now. Look at him. What this kick does is it opens the ground up. So even if he has to stop because there is no one ahead of him, when you do that, when you kick through the middle of the ground, you're forcing Hawthorn to defend the entirety of the ground in front of them. The issue is, as soon as Harry Mackay gets his football, he's forced to slow down, which isn't a bad thing. But if he takes that kick to Sam Doherty, now you're open. Even if you miss that option, a good team here hits up Chera or hits up Hollins over the back here. You've got to hit up someone through the middle of the ground. Look at them pointing at Chera saying, give him the ball, give him the ball. But instead, we're Carlton, so what do? We kick long up the line to just absolutely no one. And when I mean absolutely no one, look at where this kick is going. 1, 2, 3 Hawthorn spares versus Sam Doherty in the air. And Sam Doherty running back with the flight of the football. That is just horrific ball movement. That is coach killing, just ball movement, just mistakes. That is decision making, that is skill, and that is setup. And when you mix all of them together, you just get horrid football. Can't keep talking about bad football. Let's talk about good football. What does good football look like? And what makes Hawthorn so dangerous? Let's get into that, because at least that is good to watch. So one of the things that makes Hawthorn so dangerous is the fact that every single player in their forward half, every player that runs into their forward half, we're talking about Amon, we're talking about D'Ambrosio, we're talking about Impey, and then we're talking about Watson and Ginnivan and Connor McDonald and Josh Ward, and all of these players, Will Day, Kel Shadir, Mitch Lewis, Might be a Chol when he's in the team. Jack Anderson, all of them have flair. They've all got skill. And when you have players with skill, that means you can take the game on a lot more. But it also means that you shift the defensive zone so much more often because these players can take the kick on. They can take these 15-metre kicks. Now, even though they have 3 tall forwards up there, and Cal Shadir is just taking hangers on blokes left, right, and centre, they are so willing to move the ball 15 metres here, 20 metres there. They shift the ball so well, so often, because they have, one, they're set up to do it, but also the players with the ability and willingness to actually take those kicks on. Amon gets the ball on the wing here, and we're just happy. We are so happy as a Hawthorn team to just take this 15-metre kick. Usually when you take a kick here, you are relying on an option here because most teams don't have players like D'Ambrosio and like Amon who are willing to take these sort of kicks on. So Carlton do a really good job here of shutting down these options. And bang, Haynes taking 2 players right now, shutting them both down. As soon as you're able to slow Hawthorn down, how many times do we see other teams just bomb the ball straight back into here? We just saw it with Hewitt. We literally just saw it about 2 minutes ago. We just saw it with Harry Mackay. This is the kick that just goes long up the line to the most predictable part. But the best teams in the league, they're the ones that use this kick to shift the angle. And as soon as you can shift the angle, bang! You hit this kick straight through the middle of the ground. 1, it's the ability to look through the middle of the ground. And then 2, the ability to execute the skill that gets you through the middle of the ground. And as soon as you do that, now the Carlton defence has to cover the entire forward 50. So as soon as you do that, you allow your forwards to be on the front foot. You allow your forwards to be leading at the football into the space. Jack Gunston gets a goal. Again, exact same thing here. And what we're going to see is the ability for the Hawthorn players to take the short kick because they're so happy because they trust their ball use, they trust their movement, they trust their skills to take these sort of kicks on. So James Sicily with frontal pressure here coming from DeConing. This is usually where we see a defender kick the ball long up the line into the air. But bang, Sicily, ability to back himself in, but also the work rate here from the Hawthorn players to get into positions where they can receive the football. So now you've got players like Dylan Moore, and look, bang, let's just shift the angles. And what shifting the angles does is it just shifts the defence. So now Blake Akers has to come over. Lockie Cowan's got to go through the middle of the ground. We were in the most obvious position when Dylan Moore took that mark. But even this 15, 20-metre kick through the middle of the ground, just slightly shifting the defence, that's what opens these sort of options. So all of the Carlton players have now had to move slightly to the left, and bang, now that opens space to the right. So now Gitterman gets the football, and it's just these tiny little shifts of angles, these tiny little shifts of the defence that just open up pockets of holes. And all we're doing is just forcing the defenders to shift. So now Cowan's out of position, Pitnet's out of position, Wiederin's out of position. So now when they're going forward, now they've got really easy access into their forward 50. And that's what it's all about. These tiny little kicks left, right, it just shifts the defence slightly. And all you need is that 5 metres of separation from me to Pitnet right there. Purely just from the ball movement up the field. That is all it takes to get open marks inside forward 50. Look, as soon as Hawthorn win this stoppage, as soon as they win this contest, look at just the flair and the skill that their players have. So 1, Cal Shadir's ability to win this ball at ground level, pick it up, turn around, pressure coming from both sides here. How often do we see this just kick 50 metres straight in front of you? Look at his ability to change the angles. Just that little snap kick. And as soon as you change the angles, now Nick Haynes is out of position. So he's expecting the long kick up the line. Now he's out of position. Jack Gunston is in pole position to get this football. And then as soon as you do that, now you can create the overlap here with Mitch Lewis. And again, all you're doing with those little just shift angles, those angle shifting kicks from a player like Cal Shadir, all that's doing is just putting the Carlton defenders in a slightly wrong position, and you only need that 5 metre gap of space to just completely run through a team. That's what makes Hawthorn so dangerous. And this is the final play I'm going to show you because it basically just highlights the exact difference. So as soon as Carroll gets his football, that is a great kick. That is an angle-changing kick to Sard. And that puts the Hawthorn defenders on edge, right, straight away. And this is a really good kick from Sard. He's not blazing inside the forward 50. Take the lead-up kick, but this is the issue. So as soon as Fogarty gets his football, look at just the complete lack of movement. If you're getting the football here, you've got to hit up a Cowan, you've got to hit up a Hollins, you've got to hit up someone from this 50 to 70 metre out. Because if you're kicking from 90, if you're kicking from 95 almost, this is the only result that you're going to get. As soon as you decide to kick the ball inside the forward 50 from the centre circle, you are kicking to a contest and you are just praying that your forwards are better than the Hawthorn defenders. And often, that's just not the case, especially when you can have 3, 4, 5 people go up in the air. So as soon as Hawthorn get this football, we saw Wizard. He didn't blaze away. He gave the handball. Again, Warple doesn't blaze away, gives the handball and more ability to change the angle. So when Warple gets that football, the Carlton defenders, they're thinking he's going out to the far side of the screen. Instead, as soon as you take this handball on, now Dylan Moore is coming the exact opposite way. And that is all it takes from Adam Sard to be shifted away from Jack Ginnivan. Just again, that 5 metres of space. Again, Gunston's leading out here. The Carlton defender thinks it's going up the line. Instead, take the inside kick. But you need the decision making, but you also need the skills to be able to do this. And that's where Hawthorn's forward half is so dangerous. And now the Carlton defender is out of position because Gunston's gone to the boundary line, but they've shifted straight into the middle of the ground. So do I need to cover the middle of the ground now? And as soon as you do that, as soon as you think that, again, it's just that shifting. It's that 5 metres of space is all you need. So again, look who is now out of position. Look at the gap Gunston has created. They were next to each other, and it's just the shifting angles from Hawthorn that has forced the Carlton defender here to just be completely out of position. And as soon as Gunston gets his football, they're kicking the ball from inside 50. This is the difference. And as soon as you can do that, now you give your forwards the best chance to create inside forward 50. Give them the best chance to win one-on-one. And as soon as Mitch Lewis gets that football, he goes back, kicks the goal, his first goal back, and he gives the big old, yes, I'm back, baby. If you like these sort of videos, feel free to stick around. Plenty more to come. Feel free to subscribe. I would really appreciate it. But that's it for now. I'll see you next time. Cheers.